Hi kids and welcome back to Yupp Master. We've begun with the whole file of chordates and we've reached to the classes of Aves, right? So shall we begin with the classes of Aves today? Yes? All about the birds. Okay, let's see what they're made up of. Well, let's see how are they different than us and let us see how their internal parts are and why is it that they're able to fly. Alright, so let's see, let's talk about Aves here. Alright. First of all, class Aves, it's called as Aves because the word Avis basically means bird, okay. These are a large number of extant birds and these birds, they're going to be feathered, they are bipedal, okay. Bipedal means that they are only on two legs, okay. You all know that their forelimbs are actually modified and modified in order for their flight, okay. These are bipedal endothermic vertebrates, okay. So now this is the part or hence onwards, okay. Aves, class Aves onwards are where we're going to be finding animals which are going to be warm-blooded. Because they are warm-blooded, that's why we call them as endotherms. What exactly are the adaptations that they have? Okay, flight adaptations of birds. First of all, they have feathers, okay. Rather we can say that their forelimbs which are there are modified into feathers, okay. And also they have wings present. Wings are there for their flight to happen. Also we see that they have a very powerful breast musculature. So basically over here that because of their flying mode, okay, because they need to be flying, their whole pectoral means their whole chest region, the muscles that they have there are extremely powerful muscles, okay. Also we see that they are having pneumatic bones. What exactly are pneumatic bones? Pneumatic bones means when the bones are actually hollow. Can you see over here how the bones are having small air, there are spaces inside the bone. And why is this there? The spaces are there so that the weight of the bone can be less, okay, so that there would be reduced bone weight, so that that bird can be flying with ease. Otherwise, if the bones are heavy, how would we expect the birds to be flying? Okay, so the bones are hence called as pneumatic bones with holes in them. Then there is endothermy, okay, as we saw here that they are warm-blooded animals and that too with a high metabolic rate, okay, endothermy with high metabolic rate. All right. These birds are actually, they have such a well-developed flight adaptations that these are called as the masters of air, okay. Keeping apart anything else which is there in the air, okay, you know that even insects are flying animals, right? But birds are called as the masters of air. All right. Okay. Now we also see that birds are, since after reptiles we're going to be studying birds, we do see that there are certain characteristics that birds have which are very similar to the reptiles. Okay. So what exactly are these characteristics? Look at the legs of birds. Can you see the feet of birds here? Can you see how they have scales on their skin of the legs? Okay. And these scales are very similar to those of the reptiles, right? So these have typical reptilian characteristics like epidermal scales present on the legs, alright. Also, this is a reason why we can call this as glorified reptiles, okay. Reptiles which are much better looking rather, okay, because if you see birds, you know, they have very colorful feathers and they are far better looking than a reptile, right? Okay, so let's see what other characteristics are present. Look at this bone over here, okay, and look at exactly where it is indicating where this bone is present in the birds, okay. Now what happens here, you know that we have a clavicle bone, right? So over here I'll be explaining this in a while. Let's just see what this is, okay. This is a bone which is called as an interclavicle, okay, and this bone specifically is actually a fused collarbone, and that fused collarbone is called as the furcula, alright. So what is this? Actually in the birds, the clavicles are fused together, alright, and this is actually called as a girdle. So this is the girdle bone because it will be joining the axial skeleton with the appendicular skeleton of the bird. So this collarbone that the bird has is called as an interclavicle, or it's called as a furcula. It is actually the joining or the fused collarbone. How we have two collarbones separately, it's not like that, okay. Talking about the eggs of the class Aves, they have megalethal eggs. Now, For this, we have spoken about this even when we spoke about reptiles, that the word lecithal is actually indicating the presence of yolk. Okay, when we say mega lecithal or we can say micro lecithal, this indicates how much yolk is there. So megalecithal eggs indicates that there's going to be a lot of yolk present. Why is that? Once the eggs are out of the mama's body, then how is that baby going to be deriving any sort of food? What is the source of nutrition for the baby? There is no source of nutrition directly from the mother. So whatever nutrition that the baby will be requiring, that the young one would be requiring in order to develop, the embryo would be requiring in order to develop, that is going to be given in the form of the yolk. So that's why bird eggs have to have a good and a considerable amount of yolk so that the developing embryo inside can further develop. And that's why we're going to be calling these eggs as the megalecithal eggs, because they have got a large amount of yolk inside them. All right. Okay. Look at this structure here. This is basically how the development happens of a bird. Okay. Can you see all the way inside? Okay. The innermost part here, this is the structure, or this is the basic structure of a chordate. Now, class Aves also, the animals are belonging to chordates, right? So, this is the basic embryo structure there. Now, can you see around the embryo? There are layers, okay? And the outermost part here seen is a shell. So, this outermost region that you're seeing here is what we are going to be calling as the shell, okay? But can you see that out of the embryo and inner to the shell, there are different layers, okay? So how many membranes are there? There are 4 membranes, and these 4 membranes are outside the embryo. That's why they are going to be called as extra embryonic membranes, okay? So let's see what these all are, okay? Which are the extra embryonic membranes? The first one is called as the amnion. Amnion is the exact layer which is going to be surrounding the embryo, okay? Second one is called as the chorion, all right? Third one is called as the allantois, and the last one, the fourth one, is called as a yolk sac. So whenever we talk about 4 extra embryonic membranes, the 4 extra embryonic membranes are, first is called as amnion, okay, second is chorion. This is a very important point. Second is chorion, okay, third is yolk sac, and the fourth one being allantois. Okay, now those of you listening to me right now, we have a whole playlist of videos of animal kingdom. In this year's NEET paper, that is NEET 2020, most of the zoology questions, I can say around 3 or 4 questions have come from the chapter of Kingdom Animalia, or Animal Kingdom. So this should actually tell you how important this chapter is going to be. So whether or not any other chapter you do, this chapter has to be dealt in details, okay? So basically in all of our videos, you go to our playlist, Yupp Master playlist, okay? You have Animal Kingdom, Yupp Master NEET playlist, Animal Kingdom. We've got a whole separate section where we have the videos of Animal Kingdom in it, okay? Where we have the invertebrates and we have the vertebrates too. Please remember, examples are what you want to know over here. The general features, okay, of the phylums, whatever is specifying the phylum from another one, that those characteristic features, and the examples. Examples is something which is asked every year in every NEET exam, that too around 3 to 4 questions always in every paper. All right. So shall we continue? All right. We also said that these birds are also called as the glorified reptiles. Okay. They observe the removal of nitrogenous waste is being done in the form of uric acid. Hence, we can call this as uricotelism. Okay. Now, it was said, or these are called as glorified reptiles by none other than T.X. Huxley. Okay. Now, one of your favorite birds maybe, this is a parrot. Okay. Now, let's see. When we talk about the general characteristics of birds, we see that the body has been streamlined. Okay. First of all, the body is a streamlined and a boat-shaped body. in order for the bird to fly in a forward direction, and so that it can offer maximum resistance to the air that's coming. Birds don't really bother about which direction is the air flowing in. They just flow wherever they want. They'll be flying. So we see that they have a streamlined body, and that body is actually going to be differentiated into a head, a neck region, a trunk region. And yes, birds do have tails, but the tails here are rudimentary tails. Okay, so the next question is, when we talk about birds, we see that they have so many colorful feathers on their top. Okay, but then we also see that they have skin which is dry. Okay, so their skin is dry, their skin is not having any glands present either. So they are devoid of glands except for one gland. That one gland is called as the oil gland. Can you see how it is located here? Okay, this is what I have shown here. This is the oil gland. This oil gland of the birds can be called as the preen glands. Okay, preen glands, or you may also call as the uropgeal gland. Okay, so these preen glands which are there are the ones which are responsible for secretion of oil. Where are they present? These are the ones present at the base of the tail region. Okay, I told you that they have a very rudimentary tail, so you will not be able to see it. But at the base of that region is where you can find this oil gland, or also called as the preen glands. Okay, all right, so are you all with me still? All right, now talking about some other features when we talk about birds. Okay, you know that birds have such colorful and beautiful looking feathers, right? Now you can see this here, our national animal and our national bird, and this is none other than the peacock, and we know that the peacock is famous for its peacock feathers, right? So the exoskeleton which is there has got feathers on its epidermis, so we can call it as epidermal feathers. Okay, they have scales on the legs like we had seen, because they have after the reptiles, just like similarly to reptiles, even the birds have scales on the legs. They have claws on their toes. Okay, and on their beak they have got a horny covering. Okay, so that covering is going, that beak region is actually going to be very stiff and very tough. All right, why is that beak very tough? Because remember, birds do not have teeth. All right, so whatever they want to pick on, whatever they want to break, they're going to be doing it with the help of their beaks. So that's the reason why their beak has to be extremely tough, extremely strong too. All right, look at this here. This is actually how the endoskeleton of the class Aves looks like. So we see here that the endoskeleton is fully ossified. What is the meaning of fully ossified? Now, ossification, this word, look at this word, just remember this word I am telling you, ossification. Ossification. Okay, now ossification basically means that there's going to be, at certain level of life, there must be development in the form of cartilage, but then that cartilage is going to be eventually replaced by bone. Okay, so whenever we have that cartilage is replaced by bone, this process of replacing cartilage with bone is called as ossification. That's why we say here that the endoskeleton is fully ossified, which means that each and every part of the endoskeleton is made up of bone. Okay, so that is fully ossified. Then wherever the birds are having long bones, like you can see here, these here, the leg bones, these are all long bones. Okay, wherever these long bones are present, those long bones are going to be having air cavities. Okay, now this is one of the flight adaptations which are there in the class Aves, because they have bones with air sacs, because they have pneumatic bones. This is one contribution in order to reduce the body weight of the bird in order for flying. Okay, so long bones are hollow with air cavities, and that's why they are said to be pneumatic bones. Okay, now we see here that the skull is monocondylic. Now monocondylic, for this word, first of all I'd like you to understand the meaning of the word condyle. Condyle means knuckle. What is knuckle? Knuckle means with this part over here. Okay, so what we see here is, you know that the skull is going to be attached to the vertebrae, right? When the skull is attached to vertebrae, for us, there are two extensions coming from the skull bone which helps to attach it to the vertebrae. Okay, so if this is the skull bone, there will be two extensions helps it attach to the vertebrae. But when we talk about the birds, there is only one extension. Only one extension helps this bird to fuse or to attach it to the first vertebrae. And this is the very reason why the birds are able to turn their head 180 degrees backwards to see whatever they want to. Are you able to do that? Not at all. You can just move it maximum 90 degrees because you have two adjustments, okay, because you have two attachments. But birds have only one attachment, and because they have one attachment, they can move their head, their face all the way backwards 180 degrees. So we see here that the skull is monocondylic. Okay, we also do see that the last thoracic, okay, remember these, all of these, we're talking about the vertebral column. What are we talking about? We're talking about the vertebrae. Okay, all the, which vertebrae are we speaking about? The last thoracic, the lumbar. Okay, last thoracic means at the rib, where the rib cage would be beginning. Okay, at the rib cage, the last ones. Then the lower back region ones. Okay, that is the lumbar one. Then the sacral, and also a few of the tail vertebrae. They all are going to be fusing together. Means at the rear end of at the posterior end of the bird, the bones or the vertebrae are fusing together, and they fuse together to form one bone, and that one bone is going to be called as synsacrum. Okay, remember, syn means putting together, sacrum is the bone which is just at the rear or the posterior most end. Okay, so that is synsacrum. Then we also see that the synsacrum is going to be fused with the pelvic girdle. What is the pelvic girdle? Near the hip region. So there is one more girdle which you can call as the pectoral girdle. Okay, pectoral girdle, which means at the shoulder region. Okay, and when we talk about the hip region, you are going to be using the word pelvic girdle. Okay, pelvic girdle means hip region. Okay, so the synsacrum is actually fused with the pelvic girdle, and that too why? In order to provide support to the hind limbs. So can you see here, this is the synsacrum, okay, over here, and this is going to be helping in providing support to the hind limbs. Now, along with this bone over here, there is the presence of another bone too, and that bone is called as here it is, pygostyle. That is right over here. The last bone that you are seeing over here, okay, that is pygostyle. What is this all about? Pygostyle means that these are just all the rear or the posterior most vertebrae. These vertebrae are going to be fused together, and they are fused to form a pygostyle. What is it going to do? This is going to help to give support to the tail feathers. Okay, I told you that there is a rudimentary tail, and in that region there are feathers present. So to give support to those feathers over there, there is a bone over there which is fused, and that bone is called as the pygostyle. All right, so two names of the two bones that you learned at the end of the vertebral column. First bone was called as the synsacrum. Okay, even we have a sacrum bone, okay, that is synsacrum, and the second bone is called as the pygostyle. Remember these two names for the bone of the birds. All right. Now, there is one more fact that I'd like you to see about the bones of the birds. Okay. Now, we see when we talk about the sternum region. What is the sternum region? This front region over here. Okay, where the pectoral muscles are, the thorax region. Okay. Sternum bone has a keel, or you can call it as a carina. Sternum has a keel or carina. What is it for? It is just for attachment of the flight muscles. So when the bird wants to fly, I told you that they have very strong muscles in their pectoral regions in order for flying, right? So the sternum region has this keel or carina for attachment of those muscles. Which are that? That's this region over here. Okay. So that keel or the carina is there present. Okay. Look at the bone over here. Just what I was speaking to you a little while back. Okay. Can you see that? Okay, so that is that fused clavicle that they have, and this over here is the keel or the carina. Why is it there? For attachment of the muscles. Which muscles? The ones which is going to be using for flying. Okay, this is what I was just talking to you about. Okay, both the clavicles at what region? At the region of the pectoral. Both the clavicles are fused with the interclavicle in order to form a V-shaped bone, and that V-shaped bone is going to be called as the furcula. Okay, the V-shaped bone is called as the furcula. Furcula is also called as the wishbone, or it can also be called as the merry thought bone. All right. Okay, now look at this over here. There are two types of bones given in this diagram here. This is the first one and this is the second one. Now, what is the difference between these two? We need to locate which part of the bone is attached to the vertebral column. Okay, so in this bone, it is this part that is circled is attached to the vertebral column. Okay, and over here, it is this part that is attached to the vertebral column. Now, what is the basic difference between these two bones? Let's see that. In this one over here, there are two sites of attachments. Okay, which means that this rib, okay, these are ribs. So this means that this rib over here, this one over here is going to be attached to the vertebral column. Okay, this can be called as the head region. Okay, it's going to be attached to the vertebral column with two surfaces. But if you look at the rib right next to it, that is this rib I'm talking about, wherever this would be attached to the vertebral column, it is going to be attached with the help of only one surface. So, because over here there are two surfaces which help in attachment over here, we say that the ribs of birds are double-headed. Okay, so that's what you call as double-headed ribs, and this is also present in crocodiles as we saw, and also we'll be seeing in mammals too. Right, so ribs in birds are double-headed. Okay, look at this over here. This also is showing the, I told you that they have a very strong musculature in order for them to be flying. Okay, so we see here that all the modern birds, all the modern flying birds, they possess powerful breast muscles, and that is in order for them to be flying very strongly. Okay, all right. So these breast muscles that are there, just like we have muscles in our thorax, that is by the name of pectoral muscles. So there is pectoralis major and then there is pectoralis minor present too. All right. Look at this here. Such a colorful bird, such a colorful beak. Remember, the beak is going to be very strong. Now, what's inside the beak? Do you expect there to be teeth inside the mouth of a bird? Not at all. Remember, birds want to reduce the body weight. So, in order to keep the body weight low, the teeth are absolutely absent when we talk about birds. Okay. Talking more about the digestive system of birds, look at the digestive system. Can you follow the pathway of the digestive system? Okay. So, we see here that this whole pathway that you're seeing is the digestive system of this bird. Okay, this whole pathway. Now, can you see all the different parts over here? Let's just start labeling them. What are the parts? First part here, this is called as the crop. Second part here, this is called as the stomach. This here is the gizzard. Then eventually, obviously, would come the intestine, which is coiled. Okay, and finally opening up into the anus. Even the birds have a cloaca region. Okay, so let's talk about all about that. Now, when we talk about the digestive system of the birds, we see here that the esophagus that's there, the esophagus is dilated, okay, and it is dilated into a crop in order for storing food. So, esophagus is dilated into a crop for the storage of food, okay, remember this word crop here, okay. Then, the stomach region which is there, it is divided into a glandular region. Why glandular? So that it can secrete enzymes. So the stomach is divided into a glandular proventriculus and also a muscular gizzard. So the gizzard is basically over here also going to allow churning and for the digestion to be taking place. So the stomach has divided into two parts. The first part is called as the proventriculus and the second part which is called as the gizzard. Okay. Now, eventually intestine is going to be the region where there is going to be absorption taking place. and whatever substances or whatever is remaining unabsorbed naturally has to be thrown out of the body. And in order to throw it out of the body, there is a single aperture which is called as the cloaca. And just like we had seen in reptiles, even in the aves or even in the birds, this cloaca is three-chambered. Okay, so it is a three-chambered cloaca. All right. Now, after the digestive system, okay, so we learned about the digestive system over here. Do you remember that birds do not have teeth? Okay, so after the digestive system, we're going to go ahead and we learn about the respiratory system of these birds. Now, look at this over here, how the placement is of the respiratory system, okay. Can you see how there is a trachea, there is the bronchi, there are lungs, and can you see those big sacs over there? Okay, I'll just highlight those in yellow. These are the huge sacs present. Those sacs are actually called as air sacs, and those air sacs are the reasons why birds are going, or they are the way that birds are going to be breathing. All right, so look at the diagram on your right. We'll be explaining that right now. So we see that when we talk about, which system are we talking about right now? We're talking about the respiratory, okay, talking about the respiratory system. Okay, so now in this respiratory system, we see that they are basically having lungs as the major organ. They are compact, they are spongy, but they are undistensible lungs, okay. Not like our body, they don't have lungs which are expandable. They are undistensible lungs, and that too the lungs do not have alveoli. What is an alveoli? Alveoli are the smallest unit which is present in the lungs of humans, into which air is actually going to be exchanged, alright. So the alveoli in our lungs are actually distensible because they allow air to come in and go out. But over here, when we talk about birds, they don't have alveoli at all because they are without alveoli. But the lungs have these huge sacs which are called as air sacs. Okay, so can you see the presence of those air sacs over here? Okay, this one here and the ones here. So all of these are air sacs present. One here also. Okay. So there are three pairs of air sacs. Where are the lungs present here? Can you see in this diagram? This here, this is where the lungs are present. Okay. Now, these air sacs, what function basically do they do? The air sacs are meant to facilitate continuous oxygenation of blood. So because these lungs are devoid, means they don't have alveoli, there is something which is going to be replacing it, okay. And can you see in this diagram the very same 1, 2 and 3 pairs of air sacs that we mentioned here are found here too. Here is the first one, here is the second pair, and here is the third one. So there are 3 pairs of air sacs, okay, the anterior one, the posterior ones, and the abdominal air sacs there. So basically the air sacs are there meant for facilitation, for continuous oxygenation of blood, and also helps in maintaining the hollowness of the bones too. Alright, so they facilitate continuous oxygenation of blood also, and they help in maintaining the pneumaticity of the bones. Alright, now look at this here. Okay, when we talk about the birds, we cannot forget ever that parrots are able to speak. So basically they have a voice box which is called as a syrinx, and they have the capacity to be imitating sounds. Okay, that's why the parrot has a tendency to always repeat whatever you're going to be saying. So the syrinx is a voice box. Side ones are atrophied in the mature females. All right. We also see that in male birds, the copulatory organs are going to be absent, okay. They don't have any copulatory organs. The only birds which have copulatory organs are ducks and geese, all right. Next, coming towards the basic examples of the birds, okay, this is very important when we talk about the NEET, your MCQs too. So I'd like you to just take a screenshot of these here. First, talk about the crows. Crows, remember the scientific name of crow is called as corvus, okay. Now here, important things here are the scientific name and the common name. I have it given images because I'm sure you know the images of these. So talking about the first example, corvus or crow. Second one, talking about those pigeons all around you, the scientific name of pigeon would be columba, okay. So you have corvus, you have columba. Third one, the parrot. Parrot, scientific name is called as Psittacula. Alright, Psittacula. Remember, these are going to be very important for your MCQs. Fourth one, the peacock, your national bird, that the scientific name is called as pavo, alright, or peafowl. Fifth one, okay, we talked about parrot. Next one, the penguin, okay. Penguin, look at the scientific name of penguin. I bet you would never guess it, okay. This is called as Aptenodytes, okay. Aptenodytes means penguin. Next, talking about vulture. Vulture, neophron. Neophron is an example which comes in many of the reference books too, and also as a very important important example when it comes to class Aves for your exams, for your MCQs. Remember, when we talk about kingdom Animalia, especially the chordate part MCQs are all about the examples. When we talk about the invertebrate part, yes, the general features, the special features are just as important as the examples are. But when we talk about the chordates, it is maximum, the most important part would be the examples only. Alright. So do go ahead, take a screenshot of these examples over here. And this was all about the Aves here. Alright. So alright, so some of you asking for Hindi. Well, this is an English lecture. We do have our Hindi classes. You can go ahead, you look for the Yupp Master NEET channel, where the same thing would be explained in Hindi as well. Alright. Now, just talking about the different characteristics, let's just go ahead and recollect all of the special features of class Aves. Alright. What were the characteristics? First of all, we saw that the mode of life was aerial. They build their nests on branches and leaves of trees. They are herbivores, most of them. Some of them may be carnivores. Okay. Forelimbs we see are modified into wings, and hind limbs are also there, but the hind limbs are just like those of reptiles, and they are modified for walking and for running, right? We see that the body is streamlined, differentiated into a head, trunk, neck, trunk and tail. We also see that there is a streamlined boat-shaped body. They are warm-blooded, they are homeotherms. You can call them as endotherms, because endotherm means that they're going to be generating heat from within the body to keep the body temperature constant, warm-blooded animals. Alright. Exoskeleton, we see that they are made up of feathers. There are scales present on their hind limbs. Skin in the alveoli, in the Aves, remember they are non-glandular. There is only one gland present, the oil gland. And where was that present? It was present at the near the region of the tail. Okay. Bones are hollow and pneumatic, which is going to allow them to have or maintain a reduced body weight in order for facilitating flight adaptations. They don't have teeth. So we see that the jaws which are there are basically modified into beaks. Teeth are absent, and they have special structures like crops and gizzards present too. Now, this is an important topic an important point when we talk about any of the classes of the vertebrates. The birds here, they have double circulation. The double circulation is of two types. Okay, it's actually a closed type of circulation here, where blood is going to be basically flowing inside blood vessels. Okay, now we see here that the blood is red in color and the blood shows blood cells. All right, RBCs here are seen to be biconnucleated. All right, now the heart over here is ventral in position, just like any other heart of a chordate, and it is perfectly four-chambered. So the oxygenated blood is basically differentiated from the deoxygenated blood. There are two upper chambers called as auricles, and then there are two lower chambers called as the ventricles. Okay. We see here that the respiration that happens in Aves is done through lungs, but remember there were three pairs of air sacs to help them, and those air sacs are present to increase the buoyancy. Remember that the birds, they don't have alveoli present. All right. Now, when we talk about the nervous system of birds, they are having an enlarged brain. All right. They have an enlarged brain, and they have a well-developed area for equilibrium, that is the cerebellum, just like us. All right. So those of you who have joined right now, can you tell me, have you gone through yesterday or this weekend's, the past weekend's NEET paper, NEET 2020? if you've gone through that paper and you're watching this lecture right now, you will know that this chapter of animal kingdom, how important it is. Okay, I had seen when we were going through the questions and going through the solutions of them, we had the live discussion for the answer key. You remember that this was a question, this was a chapter from where repeatedly questions were coming. Around 3 or 4 questions actually came from this chapter only. So remember, and please note that this is a very important chapter. All right. Now in birds, we see that the cover the whole syllabus for NEET 2021. Yeah, we will do that. Okay. So that's coming up. Anyways, so right now stay tuned with us. Okay, whatever you have missed, go ahead. You can watch those videos. Stay with me at Yupp Master, and we'll be covering everything. All right. So we see that optic lobes are well developed, okay, and the olfactory lobes are here are poorly developed. All right, olfactory, you know that birds anyways, birds have a very strong sight of vision. You know, the eagles, they can be viewing the small fish which is swimming in the ocean, and it can go and just pick it up, right? So optic lobes are very well developed, but then their sense of smell is not well developed. So olfactory lobes are not well developed, they're poorly developed. Okay, now, how many of you were there, were present with us when we discussed the NEET 2020 paper? Well, I'd like you all to know that do subscribe if you find this lecture useful. If you like the lecture, I hope you will go ahead and give me a like right now in this page, okay? Or if you're with me and you're listening to me, I'd give me a thumbs up, show some love. And go ahead and like my channel, subscribe to it, and do stay with me. We're going to be continuing in our next lecture. We are going to take the whole chordate together, and right from amphibian, reptile, aves and mammals, I'll be doing a comparative study of all of those tetrapods. Okay, all the tetrapods, comparative study. We're going to be covering in detail what exactly mammal is all about. Okay, so I hope you stay tuned. Day after tomorrow, right here, same time, 7:45. I'll be waiting for you all. Stay with me, and still then, you guys stay home. You stay safe. You take care, and do stay with me. Solve any MCQs. We have a channel. We have an app called as a Yupp Master app. So whatever was there in today's lecture, you can go to that app, and you definitely would find the relative MCQs for that. So you know that your basic thing that you want to do is your MCQ solving. So go to the app right now. It's completely free. You can just find 20 MCQs for this very same topic and just see whether you're getting it or not. Otherwise, you always have a way to go back and replay this video. All right. So till then, stay safe. You guys stay home and take care. All right. See you next time. Remember, day after tomorrow, same time, 7:45. Bye-bye.